Oh, good afternoon. This is Talking Trade Live with On the Tools. I'm Andy Stevens, going to be your host for the next half hour or so. A couple of things before we start. The great Andy Wilcox slotted in for me last week because I was elsewhere, and I've watched it back. And apparently, the reason for me not being live was because I had an aggressive back sack and crack wax. Now, sorry to disappoint, but I've been on holiday with the kids, so nothing as extravagant as that. He was actually going to do this week because, as you can see from the background, I'm still away with the kids in a great pub. Yeah, he was going to do this week, but he's dressed as Andrea because, as we know, Sparks like to dress up in other clothing, and he's got his day wrong. He thought it was the weekend. So you're back with me. We've got a great subject this week. We're talking about the lovely COVID. What's happening? What's going on? How has it changed our industry? What have we got to change moving forward? Before we do start, if you do think what's on in the background, I'm in a great pub with the kids. They're drawing in pumpkins, and it's a great pub called the Royal Fountain over in Shropshire. So if you ever get the chance, do pop in here. It's brilliant. You can see what they've done behind me. Now, welcome Dan. He is the lead channel manager from Wienerberger. And we've got the lovely Karen, who's back from, I think, 5-6 weeks ago. And obviously Dave Gutierrez in the bottom corner. First of all, welcome, Dan. What's the biggest change for your brand and company with COVID?
I guess the biggest change is kind of the uncertainty of it all. You know, it wasn't so long ago that we were all sitting happy in our offices, and now, you know, the majority of certainly our office staff are working from home. So that's really the biggest shift for me personally. From a manufacturing point of view, obviously it's kind of the unpredictability of demand at the moment is kind of the big thing that's led on from COVID. That's for sure.
Demand, Dave. When are you booked up until? July 2022. What's going on? Have you got to pre-order all your bricks, blocks, roof tiles and everything, or what is your plans?
Well, this is it. Work's gone crazy. Materials are still hard, or certain materials are still hard to get hold of. So it is a worry. So we're having to sort of premeditate what we need on future projects, but you can't think too far ahead, and we haven't got the space to put it. So there is a struggle.
Karen, how have you been affected by COVID? You were on last sort of in the middle of lockdown. You've gone mad, haven't you, busy-wise?
Yeah, I had to take some time out, if I'm honest, because I went into overwhelm. It's just me, and some days I just couldn't cope with the amount of inquiries that were coming in. It was totally crazy, and that made me feel bad because I couldn't get back to everybody, and I just had to stand still and look after my own mental health for a while. And now, yeah, I'm looking at, people are phoning up and they're like, oh, when can you come? And I'm like, February, March time, oh, not before Christmas then. I'm like, no. So it's just mental, totally mental.
Now, Dan, Dave, I know well, and we're sort of similar sized companies, what we do, extensions, refurbs, residential. Are you hearing from suppliers, national, regional, that you stock, that demand is going through the roof for things like bricks, blocks, roof tiles, that sort of product? Because from what I can see, everyone, as we were saying just before we came on air, they're not going on holiday. They're not really doing much else. Right, let's do the house up. Are you seeing a big increase in demand?
Yeah, certainly the RMI market is, everyone wants to do their garden, do an extension. There's been certainly an increase in the level of demand for people that are, refurbishing their properties, doing outside work, kind of taking the opportunity whilst they're, at home, can almost kind of project manage it and not looking to move potentially. That side of the market has definitely seen an increase over the last few months, and we predict it to continue to do so into 2021 as well.
I would love to hear from everyone watching. Any questions on COVID? Is it affecting you for the good, the bad, the ugly? Karen just said she's had to take some time out for mental health. I've done the same. It's just becoming a bit too much. The phone's going mad. You're trying to run, your own company. It's all a bit chaotic. There's also a lot of people losing jobs, which is obviously another subject for another day. But any question, stick it on the comments there, and I'll do my best to read them all out. What's happening COVID-wise? Now, Dave, just sort of looking ahead, I think last time you were on, you said that you've got to plan ahead, pre-order bricks, blocks, and stuff once you get out the ground, and store them on other jobs. Are you still doing that?
I'm going to do it in the next couple of weeks. I've got no choice. So yeah, because again, the yard that we've got can't take the materials that we need, and I've just been given the heads up that there's certain materials that we're going to have to start thinking about buying now, before we officially go into, or should I say, walk out of Europe and Brexit proper kicks in. So we've got this Brexit tax to think about, as well as high demands and obviously price increases, because I do believe that there's a lot of companies out there that jump on price increase in their materials, and that's what us builders have to deal with.
Well, again, just sort of going back to what we were chatting about off air, Dan, it's very reassuring to hear that even though you're an Austrian firm originally, you're very British-based. Manufacturing, production is all done in Britain, so we're not holding you to it. But on all your products, there shouldn't be a massive increase with the lovely Brexit going ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Brexit's taken a massive back step for us, but like you say, our head may be in Austria, but certainly our heart is in the UK, and all of our core manufacturing is within the UK. The vast majority of our bricks and our tile factories are here. So yeah, we're a very British company at heart, for sure.
And you're back to nearly full capacity, aren't you? And you have been for the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, so majority of our factories kind of kicked off again maybe 3-4 months ago. And with particularly in our tile area, we're really churning them out. We're back up to almost full capacity, and on the bricks, we're trying to keep up with the demand that's out there. Getting a big kiln back up and running, is not a mean feat, and our teams have been amazing in getting our factories really starting to churn out those products again.
Now, Karen, one thing, I don't want to sort of spend too long on this, but I was reading I mean, the problem is with the the red tops, you do read all sorts of stuff with COVID, but one thing that we can't shy away from is the fact that what's going on is affecting everyone's mental health, and I don't care what people say, everyone's affected in some way or another. More of us are more open to accepting it and being honest, and some of us still want to hide away from it and not admit to it. But what, as a self-employed trade, what's the biggest thing that sort of hit you? Is it the fact that now you've suddenly got this big demand, come in next week, or is it's a totally new way of working a business with lockdown?
I think it's a combination of lots of things. For me, I like to be organised and I like to have contingency. So during COVID, I kind of reassessed my working life, if you like, and I decided I was only going to go to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday is my day to do stuff for me, and Friday is paperwork contingency. And the finding that's happening now is I'll book jobs in, and then for some reason the client will be like, oh, I've got to isolate because my daughter was on the track and trace and now her friend's got it, and then it's just a nightmare. Nothing, you can't absolutely promise a client that you'll be there on a certain day, because you just don't know what's going to happen next. And it affects your head a little bit, because if you're an organised person, you'd like to be organised like me, and you've got slight OCD about it, your mind, it's a totally different way of looking at everything. And it does with your head sometimes.
Dave, being a mate of mine, you've also said that the last, March, 6 months or so, for the first time, you've noticed your mental health's been deteriorating. And is that again similar to Karen, or have you been affected in other ways?
No, 100%. It's like we haven't got time for ourselves. When you run your own business and you're doing stuff for other people, and it's not the client's fault. It's not the client's fault at all, because you're there and you're giving them something that they had you booked in for a year and stuff. But when you're there, it's all about them. And I've done a job when obviously the pandemic kicked in, and there was all confusion about what jobs can continue working and who can't. And I think that the construction industry was let down a little bit. And I'm not saying it, you know, I'm thankful that we continue to work. So I want to kind of get things confused, but we're kind of forgotten about. So why is it okay for me to work in somebody else's house and it's on the rise, but we we're not considered like the other guys, I think. And that does play on your mind. We can't keep up with it, and sort of dealing with your staff and dealing with all these questions and having people who deal with anxiety anyway within your staff group and stuff. You know, we're as a director, you're trying to play, you know, I suppose doctor. You're trying to comfort other people. You're trying to reassure your client. You're trying to be a family man. You know, my wife and children and everything else. It's been a struggle this year, and I've never really struggled with mental health, but this year I have, and I know now what anxiety feels like. And I'm 39, right? It kicks in any time, and it's horrible. So let's hope that there's no backlash, or let's hope that we can get over this and be mindset, try and be strong. But you're right, Karen's right, taking time for yourself. You know, I'm having to bring my paperwork into work, a laptop into the van and all this kind of stuff. You're doing the right thing, I'm doing the wrong thing. So learning from Karen really on that.
Well, I think one thing we can take from it, I don't want to spend too long looking at mental health because I want to do this another week, but a bit more, you know, what we've been through, how we're going to get through it, where we're heading. But I've, you know, I'm sure quite a lot of viewers will remember I had COVID back in March for a couple of days. I was in hospital, obviously fine now. But when I came out and sat there in my lounge, couldn't work. You use it as take a positive out of a negative. And having been through a horrendous journey with mental health, and I'm not ashamed to admit to that, I used it as a positive, and I reevaluated what I was doing work-wise. And, you know, as Karen said, she took some time out. Just everyone watching, if you are struggling, do you know what? It's only a bloody job. Even if you're self-employed, we work on a big site. If you're feeling a bit crappy, just take a day out. Because if you bust your leg, you wouldn't go to work. So just remember that. Comments, please keep them coming in. I'm going to just go through a few now. We're talking about COVID. Thanks again to Wienerberger for sponsoring the show. Obviously, a massive supplier to all the big boys, regionals and nationals with bricks, blocks, roofing products, etc. Karen Mitani, I hope I pronounced your name right, mate. I love it. Love a great name. Struggling to get spare heating parts due to COVID logistic issues and other plumbing items. Have experienced customers are becoming very agitated and less patient. Tell me about it, mate. Pointing the finger at me, question mark. For example, is something beyond control? I have a backlog of work and, like Karen, need some time out. Dan, from a sort of manufacturer's side, you're back at full capacity. How are your staff? Because you've obviously had to furlough them. Suddenly they've come back and they've been expected to start launching stuff out into the country and getting us lot back at work. Have they been affected a bit with this? Because we all need time out, but now it's hands to the pump because it's gone mad.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what I would say is that, you know, I couldn't have asked for more from Wienerberger. I mean, I've been with them for a year, and obviously a vast majority of that has been during this tough time. But you know, they've one of the things and part of our campaign about, you know, getting behind the trade and getting behind the industry is just really about providing support, you know, and they provided that to us in terms of, you know, they geared us up with all the latest tech so we could work from home. We were able to take all of our, you know, bits and pieces, you know, working from an office environment. We were very, very lucky, you know, that we didn't have the kind of the uncertainty that was certainly out there in the trade. You know, do we work? Do we not work? But we, from an office perspective, we've been very lucky. But in terms of the manufacturing guys, you know, they had to quickly shut down those factories, and then when we bought them back, they had to quickly get them back up and running again. But our company have been great, and we're just trying to pass that on to our customers, just basically being there for them. You know, our campaign that we've been running has just been about, you know, if you need to speak to someone, you know, our guys are available for you, whether that's our customer service teams that are working from home or some of them in the office, or whether that just be some of our sales guys. You know, we've had such a massive spike over the last few months of tradespeople just contacting our guys direct because there has been that uncertainty in the merchant environment. So, you know, we're happy to take those calls. We're happy to try and find solutions. And that's really what we focused on, doing the basics right.
I think the fact that you've sponsored the show today and come on and started talking about this is already people commenting, saying, good job, Wienerberger UK. Rebecca Downey's already said that, plus others. Now, we're a passionate and very loyal bunch as tradespeople, as you know, and it's great to have big firms behind us doing what they can to support. So, again, thanks for sponsoring today's show, being honest and giving us all the information. Now, what I'd like to do is read a comment. We don't get many customers. It tends to be trades on this show, but Peter Smith is a customer, and his comment is: a big respect to you all. As a customer wanting a loft conversion, being told to wait until mid-March/April due to demand, he's more than happy to wait. You all do a tremendous job. Thank you. Well, first of all, Peter, thanks for the message. Secondly, if wherever you are, if that building company don't turn up, you're not going to be short of people wanting to work for you, because little top tip, mate, as a great customer to us trade, you'll get a lot more done. And it's great to hear that he's understanding, Dave, that people are going to be busy. Good people are busy, because let's be fair, mate, if you could start on Monday, there'll be a reason why. So I think it's great that we're educating people with this show, saying good people are booked up. When are you booked up until again?
We're booked up. It's pretty much now. Next booking date would be July 2022.
So yeah. with that, I mean, you're well known in the area, and you obviously, mums at the school gates and previous customers all talk. So, do you think this is part of our responsibility to educate customers, especially when we go and see them for the first time and look at a job, saying, look, one of the things I want to point out is we're busy. Don't expect us to start next week.
Yeah, I mean, that you know how strong I am about. There's good companies out there and there's bad companies out there, and I do think that all us builders should be licensed. That will get rid of the bad, the bad builders. But it looks like that, Mr. Smith over there, whoever's his builder, is a lucky builder, mate. To have a client like that, to have clients to wait is one thing, because that's respect and they know about you personally and your company and what you produce, which is fantastic. And I think I'm seeing a lot more of that. You're always going to get the other guys that will look for the cheaper and the one that can start straight away. Unfortunately, that's life, and they're going to have to put up with the consequences. Look, when there's a recession, usually we say that's a good way of clearing out the bad builders, and the good builders usually survive, right? COVID, I think, is the opposite. It's created so much more work. Domestic building projects now are just there. I was talking to an architect yesterday, and he said he's never been so busy. He doesn't even know what to do. How to deal with the workload. So this is inviting other tradespeople to or people that think they can do it, to step in. So yeah, I mean, look, there's high demand for materials as well. Materials, it goes without saying, whoever's using it, we're all buying the same stuff. We'll see how we get on. Look, it's good. It's a good time as a builder. If you're a good builder, do the right thing. Know what you're doing.
Now, Karen, just want to send a comment your way, see what you think. Interesting one from John Blatchford. He works in the plumbing merchant. Some suppliers have been hit really hard, struggling to get the raw materials and stopping some ranges because of other suppliers have had no issues. So, it's going down to not just, if you want to call it, extensions and refurbs, but individual trades like plumbing and electric seem to be struggling. How are you finding materials?
Yeah, well, I know for a fact that there's some fuse board manufacturers that you can't actually get hold of consumer units or the associated RCBOs. And I think what people have to understand is it has a knock-on effect all down the line. So the manufacturers of those components have been in lockdown, their staff have been furloughed. So there was a point in time where nothing was produced. And obviously now the stock on the shelf is gone, and it's taking its time to catch back up again. And this is what people, I think what's happening is, we've lived in this instant society for such a long time now. You can order stuff on the internet in the morning and it'll be there the same evening. And now all of a sudden, everybody's got to be patient. And people aren't used to being patient because people are just used to getting everything when they click their fingers. And I do think this is another area where it's messing with people's heads. They're like, well, I don't understand why I've got to wait 3 weeks for something that I used to be able to get same day. So yeah, it has a knock-on effect all down the line. And the other thing is, like, if you go to any of the merchants, your order is being picked in sequence. You know, there's no trade section anymore. So again, you've got to stand there and wait. And that has a knock-on effect in how many jobs you can do in a day. You know, then it comes down to how comfortable you feel going in and out of several different houses in a day. So ultimately, I am forced to put my prices up because I can't earn as much as I was 6 months ago. Yeah, and this is all, it's all of these components together are having a massive effect on the way people think and the way that we're going to do business going forward.
It's a great point. Agreed by DJ Rustler. We got some great guest names on this show. The comments coming in, haven't we? Brilliant. Karen, he said the hundreds MAs are the RCDs basically are getting scarce. That's another thing we're struggling. I remember we were finishing a job in, where was it, Central London back in sort of April, May, and my Spark was struggling to get certain faceplates. I think it was brushed chrome, nickel, that sort of thing, because one of the components in it was coming from China, and this was when it all kicked off of China. So this has knock-on effects, which leads me nicely on to Dan. Do you see us as tradespeople having to change the way we work? Karen just made a great point about how we have been working very much sort of pop into a branch or a stockist or supplier, there it is, or you order it and it's there. Do you think we should start working with big suppliers like yourself and actually planning ahead more than we have been?
Yeah, I think, you know, planning ahead is really key, particularly when, you know, you're working with independent merchants or any merchant, to be honest, because, you know, they are, you know, having to change the way they're working. They're trying to figure out the best way to satisfy, you know, obviously you guys are extra busy. That means they're extra busy. They've also then got to deal with, like you say, the kind of the homeowner angle. You know, people that haven't been able to get to B&Q will start coming to Adjusons, let's say. So they're kind of dealing with the issues as best they can. So yeah, any planning, we always say that's you know, going to be really helpful, particularly when you're looking for, you know, products on longer lead times.
Tell you what, Dan, I'm going to really throw something out there. I'm going to ask you first, and then ask Karen and Dave as tradespeople. This COVID is not good for six. We've got Brexit coming up. God only knows what that. Well, I wouldn't say he's top of my Christmas card list. More like rock bottom, being relegated last year. Boris Johnson's going to do with it. I think, as trades, have got to massively change. We go about our business. Karen's just said it. Dave's just said it. Just an idea. How about most of us lot have certain, let's say once a month, we do 4-day weeks. And then the other day, someone like Wienerberger, my apologies, or someone else, Screwfix, Juicens, doesn't matter who it is, does an open day for us trades. This is how to plan for the business. Work with us closely. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, we already we do a lot with making sure that both the merchants and our trade partners, you know, my role is kind of purely looking after the tradesmen and the merchants. So we're kind of a little bit unique in that scenario where we have, you know, dedicated both marketing and sales teams that purely look after kind of the voice of the customer. So that's something that we take very seriously. And yeah, it's something that we're actually putting some marketing elements in place that will allow a bit more closer contact with the people on the ground, the people that are actually, you know, spending every day out in the building sites. So that's something we're definitely working on.
Well, that is a brilliant thing to hear, because quite honestly, everyone's going to know my view on this. As tradespeople, one-man band, small business owners, I don't think we get any near the level of support we should get. So great to hear that you guys are doing more of that. Dave, you know what I'm like, mate. I'm crap at doing back-end paperwork. That's your forte. Do you think we need more support from the big boys like Wienerberger?
Yeah, I mean, I do, and I do to a degree. Only if we use the products, right? So with Wienerberger, I suppose for the likes of me, I've used your products loads of times, but I only use them if they're matching, roughly what we're using at the time. If we're building an extension and you supply it, or you have a product out there that matches an existing house that we need to try and match, or roof, mainly roofing materials as well that I use. It'd be nice for big companies to give us small SME companies, something back, but yes and no. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one, because why should they as well? It would be nice.
I think why should they is just why should they? Sorry to interrupt, because Dan just made a really good point. He's working closely with trades, and a lot of things I've gathered from doing this show since March is I think construction have the most passionate, loyal people in any industry. And the fact that people really come on and said, big round of applause to Wienerberger for sponsoring the show, working with trades more. Because Karen, sorry to jump straight onto you, but I think this is something we've talked about before, and that's as trades, we have no training in how to run a business, price a job, do contracts, payment schedules. What are we doing with that? We don't go to trade shows. We've got to take a day off and lose a day's money. If we took a step back and bigger firms started doing a bit more to help us understand our own business and plan ahead. Heather Hines Gracie has said she's got to be more organised with the materials. It's become a good habit that she's acquired since COVID. Why, as trades, are we relying on problems like COVID to become better business owners? Do you think we should take a step back and allow bigger firms to give us a hand so we learn more?
Yeah, that's something I'd definitely be interested in. I mean, I do think that, as a self-employed tradesperson, it's very easy to get sucked into the being in your business all of the time, because you are the buck stops at you and you're in it 24/7, and it's very difficult to allow yourself the self-development time to take a day out and go, today I'm not going to be in my business, I'm going to be at my business. And that can reap massive rewards. When I very first started my business, I did a little bit of networking with some female groups, and what was fantastic is that they did used to offer like mentoring sessions, just for a couple of hours. And sometimes it's good to get yourself like an accountability buddy, where you can say, oh right, by the end of this week I'd really like to have achieved blah, because that's going to help me going forward. But if you're not accountable to anybody, it's really easy to say, oh, I'm so tired today, I'll just have a glass of wine instead. And I think that maybe this is something that we're missing a trick on in trades, is that we could maybe come together more and have these kinds of conversations, have the conversation about, oh, you know what, I tweaked this and it really worked for me. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So again, it's a bit of a vicious circle, but it's something I'd definitely be interested in if the big companies, put that out there, because I think it's good.
Do you know what?
Sorry, Dave, go on.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry. Just to follow on from what Karen was saying as well, and I don't think I did. I said this and I wasn't clear enough, really. So yeah, agree that it would be a good thing. Now, I'm massive on self-educating. Okay, so if I don't know something, I will educate myself on it. There is on social media, there's loads of networking platforms to do with organisations that you can be part of, and then you can talk to each other. Also, I include myself in a lot of webinars. You sit back, like I'm doing here, no different to what I'm doing here with you guys now, is I will take half hour, an hour out while I'm doing my paperwork and listen to a webinar about contracts, about payment stages, and that's why I am pretty decent at the paperwork side of things, is because I've only self-educated myself, and webinars have gone crazy since COVID, which I think is awesome. I never really jumped on one before, but now I do. Instead of going to these, taking a day out and going down to Sandown Park or whatever, obviously one close to us, for an open day. We haven't got time for that. But these webinars, you just have to kind of Google and find out what's going on, be part of that, sign yourself up, and away you go. Say at 4 o'clock, it's on for an hour, and you don't get, it's not like this and you talk to people, you listen, you write down, you make your notes, self-educate.
To be honest, mate, you've just said a point which I've said for all my life. Oh, I don't have the time. We need to make time. I think that's the big thing. Listen, you know what I'm like. I don't have time to bloody drink a coffee. We've got to make time. And I reckon from what you said with webinar or, these virtual events like this, if we say, I don't know, just an example to you, Dan, if Wienerberger say, right, the last Friday of every month, we're going to do a free online webinar or chat or whatever, and each one of those is going to be, we'll do it at the same time, maybe 1 o'clock for an hour, and each month we're going to talk about different things and we're going to get people on. And I think giving back, because bottom line is it's not going to cost you guys much, even though you're a big firm, but it's giving us trades an opportunity to learn stuff each month, because we do struggle with time. And it's brilliant that you've come on and you said you're doing stuff, but do you think someone like Wienerberger could take it a step further and give us trades a bit of help how to run a business? Because we're great with our hands, but not great with our heads.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely something that we're...
I think Dan's frozen. I just want to go to a couple of comments which are going to help us while Dan unfreezes himself. Guy Cooper, LABC, have some good training support and resources available on their website. So anyone that wants to have a look at what Dave was talking about, that's a good starting point. Karen Mitani's come on again, and oh my God. I tell you what, Karen, if there is one of these that works, I'm going to be with you, literally first of the queue. Would love to attend a workshop in how to get the client to pay upon completion of the job. Maybe it's me, but even my repeat clients are dragging their heels. Karen, it's not you, mate, because I've had it for years and I'm sick and tired. Oh, can I leave it a couple of... Oh, can I pay you when I get... No, we're finishing today. It needs paying. So listen, I don't think there is a correct way of doing that. It's just the luck of the draw with clients, sadly. Karen, just back to you. The big thing which is coming about this, COVID has allowed some of us to take a step back and reevaluate with the unknown with COVID. I mean, listen, my view, it's suddenly going to just disappear come February or March. But anyway, that's just a personal opinion. Let's say we do have to be a bit careful. We're planning ahead with materials and working and stuff. Should we take this as an opportunity to take a step back, not like you did for a few weeks, but taking a step back and actually running your business in a better way? Because I'm all the time and it's not good in any way, shape or form. Should we take this as a little bit of a lesson?
Yes, absolutely. And also what it's given me the ability to say no a little bit more often, which I think, as self-employed tradespeople, we're always a bit scared of saying no, because there's always the fear that work will dry up, or I think when you're tradespeople, in my experience, have a natural desire to help people. I'm an electrician, and for many of my customers who are vulnerable or elderly, I am the fourth emergency service, and it's very difficult to say no to those kind of people. And we do want to help. That's why we do what we do, isn't it? And we like helping. We like to see something completed. We like to see something fixed. We like to see something improved. But we are also people ourselves who sometimes need help. So I think it's hard sometimes to see yourself as yourself when you're in your own business, because you kind of morph into it. You kind of think, oh, I'm just an electrician. Well, no, actually, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. And I think, standing still a little bit has made me realise that those things are important too.
Well, I think looking at the time, we're running out of time. I would like to thank, first of all, Dan, the lead channel manager from Wienerberger. Thanks ever so much for coming on and sponsoring today's shows. I think it's great to hear some of the stuff you're saying about being very proud to be British manufacturing over here. Dave and Karen, as always, it's been a pleasure having you on. And I hope that a lot of people can take a lot from this, that let's take a step back and actually plan better Us trades are guilty of one thing, and that's running 100 miles an hour, trying to juggle a million things. And Karen and Dave, thanks for being honest, and obviously great content as usual. So thank you to you both. And Dave, finally, just before we go, as I've known you a long time, I'm just so pleased that you've learned to spell in the background. I think that is testament to the hard graft you've put in over the years. And Mrs. Gutierrez, well done. You should be very proud of your son. He's under 2 syllable words now, which is obviously great news. Listen, thanks everybody for watching. As you can see, I'm going to go back to this brilliant pub, the Royal Fountain in Thebury Mortimer, I think it's called. It's near Ludlow. They've really looked after the kids and me. We popped in here last night for a bit of grub. So if you're out this way, come and have a look, because you can see from all the decorations behind me, they're doing a lot for Halloween. And being Welsh, they've got Butty Bach on tap. So it's brilliant. And guess what I'm doing next? I'm going to go and have one of their beers. See you next week.